For so many of us, owning a horse can be a childhood dream come true. But unfortunately, if you're unprepared, it can really quickly turn into a nightmare. Okay, that was a little bit cheesy, but in all seriousness, if you are unprepared for your first horse or for all of the trials that come with horse ownership, you can really set yourself up for some pretty major failures. So in this video, I'm going to be outlining for you 10 things that all new horse owners need to know. And if you watch till the end, I'll also throw in a little bonus item for you. And before we get started, I would love to know a little bit about where you are in your horse ownership journey. If you're still kind of daydreaming about it, or if you're actually taking action steps towards your first horse, or maybe you already have a horse. So let me know in the comments, because I'm always curious who these videos are reaching and what you're interested in, so I can make sure to give you more content that is helpful for you. And without further ado, let's jump in. The first and probably most important thing I could possibly tell you is to keep taking lessons. I can't stress this enough. I have seen so many people get to the point where they're ready to buy a horse, and they work with their trainer to find the horse and buy the horse, and then they buy the horse and money's tight or time is an issue, and so they stop taking lessons. And this, I have to tell you, is where I see the most problems arise with new horse owners. Just because you have your own horse now doesn't mean you're done learning. In fact, far from it. We all have things to learn throughout our entire time having horses and owning horses. And especially through that first year, it's going to be so helpful to have the support of a trainer on your side. Number two is to make sure that you spend time just hanging out with your horse. We tend to put a lot of pressure on ourselves and our horses to always be achieving and working toward that next thing, and especially as we start to get busy and life gets a little bit chaotic, it can be hard to justify just taking time out of your day to just be with your horse. But I can tell you firsthand, the horse-human relationships that are the strongest that I see are the ones where people just take time to sit with their horse. They'll bring their computer and do some work at the barn, or just go for long walks together, and with no agenda, just taking time to just hang out with your horse and bond and play and enjoy each other, because you got into this for a reason, and when we take that time to just be with our horses, we tend to remember that reason. Number three, it's okay to ask questions, and in fact, I highly recommend that you do. It's so daunting, so overwhelming. That first year of horse ownership can be so much, and there's no such thing as a stupid question or a bad question. If you're wondering, about anything at all, definitely reach out to somebody to ask. If you don't have someone in your life to ask, you can ask me. My contact info is always below in the description. Number four is to set up a support team, get contacts for all of the important numbers you need long before you need to call on them. And then always make sure you have backups. So as an example, whenever I have a client that gets a new horse, I always recommend that they set up an appointment with at least one, if not multiple veterinarians in the area, just for routine maintenance work early on in their relationship with their horse, so that if and when something arises down the road, knock on wood, a colic or any other emergency situation, they're already on the books for this veterinarian and probably others as well, so that they can get into that schedule early and quickly, and they're not waiting for the new client treatment, but they're already, the vet knows them, the vet knows their horse. And then also when the vet arrives, then the vet kind of has a sense of this horse is normal and their baseline, so that they can kind of assess if this behavior is really different for this particular horse. So, and that's not always just true with vets, also with trainers, with farriers, body workers. It's good to get that initial appointment with your horse when your horse is healthy and sound and normal. Number five is to always be prepared for natural disasters. In our area, we have fires. In the last couple of years, we have this new flooding problem that's been happening, and we also have earthquakes. So I just make sure whenever I am thinking about those things for my own life and my own disaster plan, I also am taking into consideration my horses. And I already have my emergency kit, I have my plan, I have my contact numbers, everything's ready in my trailer. If I did have to evacuate, I know that I could do that. And I also have a flood plan, earthquake plan, all of that worked in for myself and my family, as well as for my horse. And, check in with your barn mates and your friends and your trainer to see what their plans are, because maybe you can plan to coordinate and work together if and when those issues do arise. Number 6 is to think about your budget for your horse, both in terms of your time and your energy and your money, because again, our horses quickly become our babies. They can quickly become money pits or time sucks, and we just want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for bankruptcy or burnout. So if you need help with budgeting, I actually have a free tool that I will link in the description below, and you are welcome to use that. No math required, but it will help you assess how to budget for your horse and what kinds of expenses to expect. And then in terms of time and money, that is actually a topic that I'm going into very deeply in my new upcoming course. That there will be more information about that at the end of this video, and I highly recommend that you just take some time now to really assess those things before you get into the thick of it with your horse, because it's always better to make those plans when you're clear-minded and can kind of plan ahead a little bit. Number 7 is to set goals and keep track of those goals. I like to have my goals somewhere that I see them regularly, so either like a vision board, or if that's a little too cheesy or too vulnerable for you, just a journal that you can write your big goals down in, and then be kind of thinking about those as you're assessing your next steps with your horse, as well as maybe what kind of trainer you want to use, or if you want to go to that show or not. You can kind of measure those little smaller action items against your bigger long-term goals and see if you're working toward those. There's nothing more frustrating than kind of aimlessly wandering through life with your horse and not knowing where you're going next, or what the plan is. Even if your plan is just to trail ride, set goals for that too. Like, I want to be able to trail ride this many times per week for this long in this location. Like, set those goals so that then when you're looking at your week and you're planning, you're like, oh yeah, I'm working toward those things with my horse, or I want them to be able to cross water easily. Find a trainer that's going to help you with that, and work toward those goals even if they're not competitive goals. Number 8 is to prep your first aid kit. And again, this is something you want to do in good times, so that when problems arise, you know exactly where your thermometer is, where your vet wrap is, etc., etc. So you want to make sure that you have all of the items that you need in your first aid kit ready to go. This is also something we go into in the first year new horse course that's coming out soon. But just something to kind of think about, work with your vet or your trainer to assess what you need in your first aid kit, what your trainer might have on hand. There are some things like Banamine or Bute that maybe you don't need to have if you only have one horse, because you may not use it all, but that maybe your trainer has. So just kind of think those things through, and find out what you need to have, what somebody else has around you. Maybe work with a barn mate so that you don't have to invest in the entire first aid kit yourself. But it is really good to make sure you have those things accessible and you know where they are in case of an emergency. I always think it's a good idea to keep them somewhere airtight so that dust and moisture don't get in. So like a 5-gallon bucket with a sealing top is a great option. And just make sure that you have all those pieces ready to go for if and when any problems arise. Number 9 is to find your people. And this kind of goes back a little bit to the contacts number that we did before, but also just in terms of your support people, your barn friends, people that you can ask for advice, or even people that you can just kind of hang out and chat with or trail ride with. There's, we get into this because we like the horses, but I guarantee you the experience is made so much richer when you have a great community of people around you to support you and enjoy this experience with. Number 10 is to make lots of time, because it always takes longer than you think. If you're like enrolled in lessons right now and you're like, it takes about an hour, I go, I ride, I come home. When you have your own horse, it takes so much longer, because you're also maybe doing buckets, or you're chatting with friends, or you just want to take your horse on a walk after, or maybe you need to clean your tack. So when you have your own horse, it's good to take that time that it takes for the ride or the lunge or whatever, and then add a whole bunch of time to that expected amount of time, because things always come up, and it feels so good to leave the barn knowing that you have extra time, like that, you plan on leaving at 6 and wow, you're leaving at 5:30. Amazing. You just scored an extra 30 minutes in your day. But if you are planning to leave at 5:30 and now it's 6 o'clock and you're still mucking stalls, that just sets you up for frustration, which then puts you on the road to burnout. So just make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time for all of those activities so that you can really take your time and enjoy them too, and they're not just turning into chores. And as promised, we have a bonus item here. The bonus item is to expect mistakes and forgive yourself for them. Everyone makes mistakes in their first time with a new horse, and most of the time those mistakes are fixable, they're manageable, no big deal. Of course, sometimes those mistakes can be a little bit more serious and something that we really need to, remedy, but just know that you're going to make mistakes and it's totally okay. If you're concerned about this, look out for my next video, which is going to be the top 3 mistakes that I see new horse owners make, and hopefully we can help you avoid some of those. Also, as mentioned, I have a new course coming out just for people like you to help you navigate your first year with a new horse. And while that course is not quite ready yet, there will be a link in this description if you're watching after March 1st, 2024. And if you're watching before that, make sure to get on my email list, which is also linked below, if you're interested in the course, and I'll make sure that you get the information as soon as it's available. If this video is helpful, please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps me to share this information with more people just like you that need information about whole and safe and mindful horse ownership and horsemanship. And that's my mission, is just to help as many people and as many horses as I can with this information. So please help me spread the word, and I will see you in the next video.